All right, let's just jump right in. You know that feeling, right? That sense that your own mind, your inner world can be, well, pretty chaotic. It's like a storm of thoughts and feelings and urges. Today, we're going to talk about a really powerful tool, a specific skill you can build to bring some real clarity to all that chaos.
I mean, what an image, right? An untrained elephant. It's just perfect. It so perfectly captures the default state of our minds. Incredibly powerful. Kind of wild. And yeah, often charging off in directions that cause us, and maybe other people, a lot of trouble. This whole explainer is about how we can start to gently and very skillfully train that elephant. So to do that, we need a good metaphor to work with. I want you to think of your entire inner world, every single thought, every mood, every little sensation, as this huge, constantly flowing river. Sometimes it's peaceful, other times it's a raging flood, but the one thing it never, ever does is stop. And for most of us, most of the time, we're just being swept along by its current.
Okay, so before we can do anything about this river, we have to talk about a pretty fundamental misunderstanding we all have. We have this really deep feeling that there's a me in charge, right? A little pilot sitting behind our eyes, pulling all the levers. But what if that's not really how it works?
This is the question that changes everything. We just assume that we are the sole author of our thoughts, that we're the director of our feelings. But the whole insight we're digging into today really challenges that idea at its core.
So here's the big shift in thinking. On one hand, you have what we all tend to believe. There's a solid me, and I'm directing my life. But then, there's this deeper reality that's being suggested, that our experience is more of an impersonal process. It's just this constant unfolding of cause and effect, a dynamic flow between our mind, our body, the world, and all of our ingrained habits. And here's the crucial thing. This isn't supposed to be some depressing thought. It's actually meant to be incredibly liberating. It frees us from this exhausting job of having to be this fixed, permanent someone who's in control of everything.
So with that new perspective, we can start to build our tool. In the ancient Pali language, the word for it is Sati, and we usually translate that as mindfulness. But look, this isn't about just chilling out or trying to feel blissed out all the time. This is an active, really precise mental skill that we actually have to develop. This definition is so important. Let's just quickly break it down. Stable means we can actually keep our attention where we want it. Non-judgmental means we stop fighting with our experience. We're not trying to grab the good stuff and push away the bad stuff. And clarity, that just means we start to see things as they really are, before we pile all of our stories and reactions on top of them.
And, Sati isn't just one thing. It actually has two parts that have to work together, kind of like the two wings of a bird. First, you've got paying attention. This is where we just practice putting our focus on something simple, like the feeling of the breath. That's the stabilizing wing. And then, out of that stability, the second wing starts to work, clear comprehension. We begin to actually see the nature of our experience. We see how a thought just appears, it hangs around for a bit, and then it dissolves. One wing gives us focus, the other gives us insight. You need both to fly.
So, now we get to see how all these pieces come together. We've got our river of experience, and we have our tool, Sati. Now it's time to build our bridge.
And there it is, our main metaphor in a nutshell. That stable, clear awareness we've been talking about, Sati, that is the bridge. It's a structure that we build in our own mind, and it allows us to stand above that turbulent, ever-flowing river of experience. And from up there, on the bridge, your whole perspective just changes. You can watch a thought about anger just float by without having to become angry. You can feel a wave of sadness rise up and then pass away without being totally drowned by it. See, you're no longer this helpless victim thrashing around in the water. You become an observer, standing firm, just watching the flow. Now, this is a really important little detail. This bridge of mindfulness, it's not some permanent, indestructible fortress where you can just go hide from life. The state of awareness itself comes and goes. The goal isn't to build a fortress and move in forever. The point is to learn how to use the bridge as a functional tool that gives you a totally new and helpful vantage point on your own life. So you might be asking, okay, what's the real payoff here? Why would I go to all the trouble of building this mental bridge? The answer is actually pretty simple, but it changes, well, everything. It's about freedom. This right here is the incredible gift of the bridge. For most of our lives, it's just stimulus-response. Something happens and we react, instantly. It's totally automatic. But the bridge, it creates a pause. It creates a little bit of space between the thing that happens and our habitual knee-jerk reaction to it. And this illustrates it perfectly.
Let's take the untrained response to waking up sad. What happens? We immediately identify with it. I am sad. Then we build a whole story around it. This is definitely going to be a bad day. And boom, we fuse with the feeling. We become the sadness. Now look at the mindful response. It starts with observation. A mood of sadness has arisen. There's inquiry, not a dramatic story. And most importantly, there's non-identification. You don't become the sadness, you watch it as just one more thing floating down the river.
And that space, that little pause, that is everything. That is the exact moment where we can shift from an automatic, unskillful habit to a conscious, wise choice. It is the absolute foundation of any real inner empowerment.
This really just says it all, doesn't it? It summarizes the entire transformation. We're not trying to stop the river. You can't. It's always going to flow. The whole practice is about changing our relationship to the river. It's about building a stable place to stand, this bridge of awareness, so that we are no longer just at the mercy of every single current.
So the final thought I want to leave you with is this. Building this bridge, it gives you access to that precious moment of choice. It puts you in this new position of power and clarity. And the only question left is, once you're standing there, above the chaos of the river, what will you choose?